Hello and welcome to a Taylor's Tales podcast. This is Chris's Corner. I'm your host, Chris Taylor, and welcome back to a brand new episode. Happy New Year to you all who celebrate the new year in this beautiful 2023 that we have entered. I am extremely excited for 2023. I'm excited for the new year. As always, excitable for many things, but I hope you've had a fantastic festive season. I hope yours was as good as mine and spent it with family, friends, big smiles, and also a little bit of relaxation. One thing I have noticed is that sometimes you can actually be more tired coming out of the festive season than when you went in because of all the stuff that goes on. I have noticed that there's lots of travel issues going on, and there was a lot of illness going around as well over the festive season, so I hope that you were healthy and you also didn't suffer from those travel issues over that period of time. So let's dive in to the new year. Each year I do the same thing. I'm not really much of a goal setter because I just continue from the previous year onwards, but that's not about me this year. It's about you, the listener, the viewer. What can we do to get those goals accomplished? What can we do to help you get them accomplished in a foreseeable future, to get them done in 2023? Well, there's many studies out there that show that 66 days is all that it takes for a habit to be maintained and also to be developed into the brain so that it's sustainable and continued throughout the rest of the year. But I also think that saying to somebody that it's going to take 66 days to get something done isn't always easy. And we're all so very much concerned with something that we can get done here and now, that is very much so just quick and easy to get done. It's never this way. It's why I think of things in the long term. We can't make short-term investments in terms of our health, our well-being, our mental health, our spirituality, many things in life. But what we can do is create sustainable goals. I'm going back all the way to the previous podcast I recorded back in 2021. And in 2021/2022, the New Year's podcast that I created was very much around sustainability and creating habits that were also sustainable for you. I'd recorded this podcast post to reading the book Atomic Habits, and how if you can create something that you relate in your brain as something you love and something you're passionate about, it's going to make it that much easier. But we're not always doing this. Most people, I think the most common habit for most people in the new year is to be able to try and get into fitness, to try and be able to get into better shape. So we'll start there. Let's start with the fitness side of things. Myself, it's taken me many years to be able to get into the shape that I am in today, and I will continuously improve that over the next coming years. One of my few goals this year is to just slightly improve upon 2022. 2022 was a fantastic year for me personally.
Oh, look at me. I'm making people happy. I'm the magical man from Happy Land in a gumdrop house on Lollipop Lane.
And I found myself realizing that my baseline was pretty good and that I'm only going to try slightly increase that baseline in 2023. And I'm a creature of habit, and I think that works for me. The ability to continuously do the same thing over and over again because I love doing these things I love over and over again. Now, did I love them in the first place? No, and this is where it comes back to you. This is where you create a habit out of something you may dislike. Putting everything into your strengths is very easy. It's not always the case. For me, running was not initially easy. I was an asthmatic who had weak ankles, had been injured many times growing up, and was struggling with the ability to run long distance. I'd had many asthma attacks growing up in school when I was trying to do long distance running, or when I was trying to exceed my respiratory capacity, is probably the best way of putting it. So when I wasn't a runner all these years ago, 8 years ago, going on from 2014, I want to say. 2014 was it? 2015, I'm going to go with 2014, 2015, something along those lines. So 7 or 8 years, something on, yeah, we'll say around that period of time. But my point being was that at 19, I really struggled running. I struggled with like 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, and as Cameron Haynes has said before, even he struggled with just doing a mile. David Goggins the same. Anyone who started from ground zero knows exactly the same message. It's not just a snap of the fingers and you become the next day the best runner or the person who can manage to do marathons and half marathons every other weekend. The point being is you have to find yourself this consistency. You start small and you build in. I'll give you an example. I did in 2021 1,000 miles. This year I did 1,135 miles. 36 actually, but whatever. Point is, it's not a large increase. It's actually only 11 miles more per month. And if you think of that over the long term, this small increase can really help you actually increase the level of capacity for you overall. You're going from zero. You have everything to gain and nothing to lose. You have all of this time and energy, and you may be thinking to yourself, well, if I do no miles, it doesn't matter. But if you do 1 mile, and let's say you do 1 mile per month, that's 12 miles more than you did last year. So you see what I mean? This progressive idea of just adding, just a small sprinkling of running or exercising, anything along those lines, you're going to find yourself in better at the end of 2023 than you were in 2022. With running, it's very easy. You can ease yourself in with maybe a mile a week. Start with something small. And if you can't do a mile, do half a mile. If you can't do half a mile, do 0.25. And if you can't do 0.25, do 0.125 miles. Start and get started. Do it now. Don't hesitate. As Goggins has said before, he procrastinates all the time.
Block! Delete!
And so maybe you will too. But you've got to find something you love to associate it with it. I am a big believer that if you put the headphones on, put something that you're going to enjoy listening to. You want to create a positive relationship with something that you may not like. If you don't like running, or if you don't like weightlifting, or if you don't like exercise in general, if you're going to do swimming, if you can do horse riding, if you can do cycling, any of these things, you've got to create a good relationship with what it is. So when I first started, I was listening, I think I was using wired headphones, and I was listening to pop punk at the time. So I'd put on my favourite punk music and I would have it go loud and layering while I was running. And that would distract me from the pain and suffering that is running at the time. And so if you can focus in on rather the music than the running, you're going to start to be able to go further, and maybe you'll have some audiobooks that you like listening to, and it becomes, I'm going to listen further because I want to listen to more of the audiobook, and that might increase the slow progress that you're going to find within your running. Same with weightlifting. Going into the gym, find your favourite music, favourite audiobook. If you're not enjoying the weightlifting environment, or you're nervous, or you're hesitant about people judging you, ain't nobody give a shit about you.
It's society today is too easy, I believe, and so that's why I think that's kind of the draw for me to pushing myself the way I do physically, mentally. I don't like if something's easy. I'm not attracted to it.
So this is the first things first. Your ego, put it out the window, because nobody gives a fuck about anybody else in the gym. They are focusing solely on themselves. If you're worried about other people judging you in the gym, you yourself are very egotistical. No one cares about what you're doing. They're focusing so much on themselves. If you think that somebody who's squatting and putting on 120 kg or so many more on the bar is thinking about you on the other side of the gym barely being able to do push-ups, you are very, very mistaken, my friend. So I'm going to give you a little bit of harsh reality there. If you're the type of person who says, I don't want to go into the gym because I don't like people, or you don't like other people being around you, or you want to do it on your own, it's going to be a very harsh life for you, my friend, because humanity is surrounded by humanity. We have to interact with one another. We have to be around one another. So if you're struggling because you're worried about what other people are doing, that may be one thing that you're going to want to tackle in the new year. Not that you're going to go into the weightlifting room or the running, is caring about what other people are doing. It's not the first thing you should be doing. For me personally, I put that at the back of my mind many years ago. I have foreseen that it is not a positive thing in your life. It will constantly restrain you from doing the things that you love because you care so much more about what other people are doing. fuck that shit. Nah. It's you and you alone. This can be a year where you can focus in on yourself. And this is a message to myself as well as it is to the listener. Because if you care so much about society and about what they're doing, then your New Year's goals are already lost. Because you'll be caring more about what other people are doing than you are about your goals. So first off, write that out. Cross it off. Not going to be thinking about other people. I'm going to be thinking about how I can become better. Not how other people can become better. And this isn't any motivational crap. I hate that shit. This is practical. This is genuinely practical. If you can go in a diary and say to myself, or yourself, or whoever, however you pronouns, whatever, blah, 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 blah. The point being is that you need to be able to foresee in the future that at some point, the people you care about, actually, what they're doing...
It doesn't matter how it makes you feel!
At the end of the day, you have to think to yourself, I'm more important than the thoughts going on, and if you can write that down and say, I am going to focus in more on my goals than other people's, that's the point I'm trying to get across. Blah, 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 excitable times, we're going to achieve a lot this year, that's great. So, now we've got the negativity out the way, now we've got the mindset that everyone else is out the door, and we're focusing on these goals. Let's say that you aren't into fitness and you're not looking to achieve that. That was a whole section for those who are trying to. The majority of people will find that useful because it is the first thing is the first step, and then taking small steps and incrementing them over time. You're not going to do what I did because it can lead to injury. When I first started back in 2018, I basically went full ham and worked out every single day, increasing running and weightlifting at the same time for the entire year, and then ended up getting injured multiple times throughout 2018 and 2019 without stretching very much. Don't do that. Find sustainability, okay? Listen in clearly. Don't do that. That's not a good idea.
Stop it. Get some help.
So, moving away from fitness, moving into the idea of consistency for anything. So this can be reading, this can be journaling, this can be many of these things that are common throughout the new year for people to implement. Maybe learning a new language. For me, Duolingo has become less of a impact for me. I do it when I feel like it and when I'm going to enjoy doing it rather than making it my mission to do it every day. And the Duolingo owl is going to murder me at some point, come in from the background and just come in and stabbing and say, why aren't you doing your lessons? God damn it. And I'll say, because I'll do them when I want, Mr. Owlman. Or should I say, une chouette? En français.
Looks like you missed your Spanish lesson today. You know what happens now. Now beg for your life in Spanish. What's that? You are crying. Come on, don't cry. Just one more lesson until you can see your family again. Maybe this will motivate you. They broke their streets, so I broke their legs. Now count to 10 in Spanish and your family is released. You know what happens if you don't.
Anyway, for those who aren't learning French, I'm sorry. You may be learning any of the other languages, but my point being is that you need to find an enjoyable amount of consistency. Something that I find really helpful nowadays is actually mentally writing stuff down, and sometimes I zone out and I'm having these conversations in my head of what to do, what not to do, and it might be helpful to be able to, if you're anxious or you're suffering from some sort of mental health, write it down, get it out, because you might not always have someone there to talk to about it, and that is most of the case. I think a lot of the time is that a lot of people don't always have somebody there with them. So keep that in mind, and maybe you'll be able to utilize this little thing of just jotting things down, getting the anger out, getting this idea out, instead of, just friggin' throwing people just like, here's my emotions, enjoy, take them, see ya, I'm off, enjoy my emotions. So there's that, and I'm not going to be the person who says that I know these things. I don't. I'm just giving some helpful tips, something that I've found useful through execution rather than through thought and theory. This is just practical stuff that I've done in the past that's worked for me. It may work for you, or it may not, and you may say jog on, and that's fine as well. That really is. So yes, I'm going to keep saying that word. Consistency is everything. If you can't do something consistently, let's say you're starting a new diet. There's so many diet fads out there, but maybe you're just starting to get the idea of health, and that's great. Getting the idea of health in your mind is fantastic, but you need to create it sustainably. So I do see when first people are starting to diet out and change nutrition is they cut out food groups, and this is so common across the internet. So I'm like the billionth guy to talk about this and put it on the internet. That's fine, I'll be the billionth guy. But the idea for me is that back when I was doing it, I got the idea that I need to do a ketogenic diet back in 2018, and I don't think so. I think what you need to do is just do the same thing that everyone always talks about, is just calorie deficit and then eat healthy foods. And we all know what those healthy foods are. We know we should be eating 1 or 2 greens in our meals each of the day. We should be eating fruits and vegetables. We should be eating clean carbohydrates such as rice, potatoes, just any sort of clean carbohydrate that comes from that's not going to give you a blood sugar level that's going to create insulin spikes and send you through a downward crashing carbohydrate burn in the afternoon. So we know a lot of these foods are going to be the ones that taste the best, but at the same time, if you can keep your proteins high, your carbohydrates clean, and your fats satiating in terms of minimal fats coming from takeaways and burgers, and more from sort of fruits like avocados and oils that are healthy, such as coconut oil or avocado oil, or even I think macadamia oil is good as well because it comes from nuts. So getting it from nuts as well, mixed nuts, whatever you want to go for, as long as they're not sugar coated. The ones I used to love, they're cashew nuts with a honey roast on them. So yes, filled with sugar. Try and avoid those because again, sugar spikes. But bringing you back to the idea is that if you can create something that you know is healthy, and you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to find, or you're just trying to be healthy overall, maybe you need to create something that's sustainable, something that's consistent, something that's going to be healthy for you, tasty. You're going to find meals that you can continuously eat throughout the year that are going to help you. So we've tackled fitness, we've tackled the idea of consistency within nutrition, we've covered the idea of being consistent within languages or some sort of learning mechanism. So each one has the exact same thing. Each one is the idea that you need to stick to it. Maybe you just start with something small. For me, it's just 1 lesson of Duolingo a day. That's fine. For me, I can deal with that. And some days I'll miss it and some days I won't, but I will continuously do it throughout the year. And by doing so, there's consistency. There it is. And by the end of the year, I've done more than I would have done if I'd just done nothing. You see? And if you do nothing, well, you're not really going to accomplish anything. And even if you just do something, it's better than nothing. So do something. just typical stuff there. So, bringing it back down to fun stuff, New Year's. A lot, you hear the idea of New Year, New Me, or New Year's resolutions, and all of these things. And I'm not someone, as I'll repeat again, who really comes up with many goals, because I'm just continuing from last year. And I hope that you, the viewer, the listener, will do the same. If you're in a happy place, continue what you were doing last year. Enjoy yourself. For me, personally, this year's going to be 3 holidays or 2 holidays a year. That'll keep me happy. That'll keep the year refreshing. I'll make sure that I'm in sunny places to get that good sun and smiles on my face and keep the tan going. Or I'm pale as hell right now, but you know what I mean. Get the healthy look, as many people will call it. And to be abroad is also to come back with a fresh appreciation for your home country as well. So there's that. There's also the fact that I'm going to make sure that I get a lot more knowledge from the work I do on a day-to-day basis. I'm going to be lifting heavier weights. I'm going to be running more. I'm going to be competing in certain events. I'm going to be making sure that I eat healthy throughout the year. I'm going to be reading as much as I did last year. Like I do this 13 books a year sort of thing, where I'm just doing like one book a month, basically, one bit, and that works for me. It's sustainable. And by the end of the year, 13 more books than I would have if I didn't create this system. So if you can keep a track of that, you can really see how quickly things add up. It also really increases your knowledge for things as well. So if you think about all of the information you're consuming from the internet, what I find is the scroll is the most negative thing possible. I'll realize I lose so much time through like Instagram Reels and through YouTube Shorts. It's like the most mind-numbing cocaine addict mindset there is. So for me, I'm just trying to push that away. So, there's stuff that you can do better always. And that's one of the things that I'm going to try and do next year, is just trying to push those away a little bit, restrict myself in a positive way, and find a way to be able to say, well done, pat myself on the back for not spending an hour on it or whatever it is. And so I'm going to be doing that by monitoring my phone, seeing how much time usage on each application. And thankfully, because of my work, I can put it on silent and just move the phone to another room and deal with that, and then just focus on work, which is great, which means 8 hours of the day I'm not on my phone and I'm not near it. And so there's that. And like I said, that's sustainable. That's not gonna, I'm trying to do so many things that are going to keep me away from my phone because it's not healthy. And it brings me back to the days when I was younger, where you would go outside and just have no contact whatsoever. And yeah, there's benefits and prides. I'm not going to try and make the old times sound better than they are, because there's not. We live in the best time possible right now. But the point being on that is that you could go somewhere and not have to worry about the world existing online elsewhere. You would have an experience and not need to worry about posting about it, being about it, or worrying about the world. I've posted a lot less this year. I've made sure that I post when I'm truly really want to share something, or really enjoyed an experience, or been to a place I've really enjoyed, or done something that's really cool and I'm proud of. And that's always a good mindset, is that you're proud of something. You're not sharing it for no reason whatsoever, or because you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. So there's that as well. Not that I'm lecturing you on life, but Jesus Christ, Chris, get it together. My point being, oh my God, I need to stop saying that. These are little things. So New Year's, going to be monitoring the things that I do in the podcast. I want to make better podcasts. You may see in the background here, for those listeners, I've got a nice Lord of the Rings poster for Christmas. I will be putting that on the wall behind me to try and create a sort of set, almost a makeshift set that is a little better looking than it already is. I want to have something in the background that's a little bit more fun for the viewer to see. For those who are just listening, guess you'll have to come over to the video side of things on YouTube. Oh no. Oh dear. Somebody's got to come and view the video side. Now, if you want to see my face, that's fine. If you don't, and you're just an audio listener, then the quality will stay the same in terms of video and in terms of audio. I've got the best equipment possible. I've got a microphone that works. I have Audacity. There's not much more you can do better than that in terms of recording. Maybe there's a better microphone out there. At the moment, I can't afford it. The £1,000, like, they're a couple of grand for a microphone at the moment, and that I'm not willing to put huge amounts of money in for. So sorry on that part, audio listeners, you're not getting an upgrade next year. But what will happen is I will continuously do what I've been doing this year. I think the consistency is just going to continue. I'm going to continue to learn about YouTube and about Spotify and about the algorithms for both, and how I can push the channel further. Maybe there'll be some sort of content that will be a little bit different. But you know what? I really enjoy doing these things, creating the fun lo-fi playlists, the just sort of general information on either fitness or just a general interest I have that maybe somebody else might be interested in. One of the things about creating these podcasts is that they are just, some of them are on the fly, some of them are planned, the others that are put together, and then I base myself around the clips that I've put together. They're just all learned over a period of time of just figuring out what looks good, what doesn't look good, and I don't know whether people enjoy them or not, but I'm just going to create them just because I enjoy doing it, and there you go. There's a passion. I've got the three things. I've got my running, got my weightlifting, and I've got my podcast, and I just think those three things really make me happy, and I think that's something that I can't take away from my life. Who would have thought that speaking into a camera, having people from all over the world listening and watching, and would make me so happy and entertained? Maybe there's something about my personality that would that yearns for being a voice amongst the many and enjoys being creative in some way. Because as much as I'd like to say that my job is creative, and it is, there's no doubt about it, you have to be creative in some ways to be a technical consultant through creating business process modeling and notation, but there's also a very sort of monotonous side of things in terms of my job as well. So it's nice to have some creative side, some structured side, some artistic side, and all of these things that you can put together, because it nourishes life. And I don't know if that's for you as well. Are you looking in the new year to add that creativity? Maybe you too found that your job or the majority of your life is focused on one aspect. Maybe you've got family, maybe you've got kids, maybe you've got all of these things, or maybe you've got cats, dogs, whatever. You've got a third party thing that you've got to look after. Thing. I just called your child or dog a thing. Sorry. The thing in the corner.
One thing worse than a rapist. Boom. A child.
No, maybe you've got something more important than yourself, and that may mean that you have to get up earlier, or you have to go to bed later to be able to accomplish these creative ideas. Maybe that's something that you're going to find in the new year. Who knows? I'll be interested to see these things, because I'm always intrigued by people's ability to consistently create something new, put out new products. Maybe you're going to create a website, maybe you're going to create an application, maybe you're going to use the new AI to be able to put it together for yourself. Who knows? But what you will find is just by doing it, you'll find out. And the worst thing that can happen is that you look at it and you go, not for me, and then you can move on and find something else. And that's something that I'm always intrigued by. I think my family, very creative in some ways. We've got my sister who's very artistic, my mum who's very creative. She's a baker. She's created so many different things in her life. She's knitted, she's created, and that filtered down into myself and my sister. My sister's an animator. I was in programming for a while. Now I'm doing this, and then I've also got my job that's very, like I said, it's mainly creative in other aspects. So yeah, it's madness. My dad's basically a software architect, so like father, like son sort of thing. But we've all got that creative aspect, and maybe in your family you don't. But what you can find is that you could be the first person to do it, and that is very exciting in the first place, isn't it? So there's that, and exciting to think what you can make of this year. This could be your brand new slate. I'm always a big fan of that. Starting from scratch, starting from zero is very exciting. It's also something that can overwhelm you as well. Where can you start? Where can you go? Well, start small. This would be the exact same advice I'd give myself if I was going back in time to when I was 14 or 15 years old, is that if you start small and you do it over time, over a long period of time, long periods of time, you'll be able to build a base and a foundation, and that foundation will therefore be so recognizable to you and so easy for you that then you can advance up the chain and you can start becoming better and better and better. It's so much fun talking about this stuff because I've been through it, I've done it, and I can't imagine myself not continuing it throughout my 30s, my 40s, my 50s. And I really hope that I'm like Henry Rollins, where I'm just continuously doing it all the way up until I'm 60s, and then I'm like an old man. I'm just I'm still doing it. I'm still getting after it in the gym. Or I'm maybe I'll be like Arnie as well. Although he's constantly saying he's not a fan of his body now that he's in his 60s or 70s. So yes, fair play for him, because he was Mr. Olympia for a long time. So you would be that way in that age. Anyway. I'm ending this podcast on a positive note. I hope you had a fantastic festive season. I'll say it again. I hope you are really excited for the new year. Happy New Year again. If you're listening to this, I really hope that you've found your goals and that you're going to be consistently doing them. Let me know in the comment section below. If you've reached to this point, if you're listening to this, please ping me a message, any of these things, and let me know what are you going to do in 2023. So, this has been the Taylor's Tales podcast. This has been Chris's Corner. I've been your host, Chris Taylor. And as always, I hope to see you this time next week. Bye now.
Because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie anywhere I want. I don't have to find a hideout place like you.